You requested $94 million for information operation activities. You were promised, and this is in fiscal year 26, you were promised $25 million from the department. You ultimately received only $19 million. Could you talk about the difference between having $19 million to do that job and $94 million? Like, what are you able to do if you were fully funded? General Anderson, I get it. I mean, we see this stuff all the time. The amount of misinformation that comes from the Chinese and the Russians, it is a huge problem. But if you could just explain to us a little bit about what you could do if you had the full request.
Senator, I think the key point there is right now we are in a reactionary mode to propaganda and to other information operations to what we can do at the moment. What the fuller funding would do, especially if it's consistent over time, would allow us to build an information campaign and address these issues across the continent. We're one of the few organizations that looks across the entirety of the continent and can understand how these propaganda and misinformation play across borders. We work very closely with the State Department and U.S. embassies on this to make sure our messaging is key, but this would allow us to do is help coordinate that messaging across regions and across the continent to highlight the issues that come with this misinformation, especially as much of it is destabilizing the democracies across the region.
Do you ever feel like we should be countering some of their disinformation with disinformation of our own?
Sir, I think the most powerful tool we have is the truth. What America brings is very unique. We're still a beacon of hope and light in the world, and I think we should be willing to talk about who we are. This is America's 250th anniversary. There's a long history on the continent that is, I mean, it's good and bad, but there's a lot of good that we can talk about of what America brings. The fact that John C. Robinson founded the Tuskegee Airmen, 2 years later founded the Ethiopian Air Force, and then went on to found Ethiopian Airlines, which is now the pride not only of Ethiopia but Africa. It's not a story that's well known, but that is a tie that we have had between the aviation communities for years. There are multiple stories like that across the continent that we need to propagate and talk about. So I would say we should focus on the goodness and the positivity of engaging with America and worry less about the disinformation that our partners put out, but we have to engage in this environment. We have to be active in the information space.
So you got about 25% of the request. So if you got the full amount, you could put more out there, positive stuff that the United States is doing. And I know these are, challenging times with resources, even beyond what DOD has, USAID and others. But do you think that would be sufficient to counter Chinese and Russian misinformation?
Senator, I think information operations is one of the lower cost investments that we can make that have outsized return and help amplify the limited resources we have in the military side and highlight the benefits that those provide. And being able to talk about that broadly, I do think has outside proportion. So small investments can have a large impact. And this is an area of information where I think we can make a lot of gains even despite our smaller physical presence, that can highlight the totality of what the United States brings.
I 100% agree with you, General, and we should really look into getting you the resources you need to do this job. Thank you.
Thank you.
General Anderson, I 100% agree with you. Senator Gillibrand.
Admiral Cooper, we had Secretary Hegseth here a week or so ago, and we did not get satisfactory answers about Iran. So what is your mission in Iran right now?
Senator, with Epic Fury now formally ended per the President's notification, we shifted our mission to a blockade mission in the following day, and we're implementing that mission in accordance with international armed conflict. That's our main mission today, as well as to be ready for a broad range of contingencies.
And do you feel that President Trump's declaration that we have obliterated all of Iran's capabilities and their nuclear program, is that accurate?
Senator, I speak from a military perspective. We have significantly degraded their drone, missile, and naval capabilities. We've fractured their command and control. We've eliminated the large preponderance of their space program. They, by every measure, are degraded significantly across all measures of national power.
So what's your exit strategy to end the conflict with Iran?
Senator, that's a policy decision.
And don't you have to offer the president various exit strategies so he knows how to get from A to B?
Senator, consistent with my statutory obligations, I provided a broad range of options along with risks and mitigations through the Secretary.
So given your current mission, how many more days, weeks, months, years are we going to be at war with Iran?
Well, as we sit here today, we are in a ceasefire, and the way ahead will be determined by our policymakers.
Well, currently, we are still spending $1 billion a day on this war with Iran. And I can tell you from my New York constituents, they're furious about it because $1 billion a day could be lowering their housing costs, lowering their food costs, lowering their health care costs, lowering the cost of everyday expenses that continue to go up because of the war in Iran. With the price of gas as high as it is, the price of diesel as high as it is, it means everything that they have to buy for their families is more expensive. So we expect from our military leaders a plan about why and how long we are going to be spending $1 billion a day, and I have not seen that plan or the why from President Trump or Secretary Hegseth. So I'm hoping, as the military person in charge of operations, that you have a plan to end this war and to stop spending $1 billion a day.
Senator, we have a broad range of plans and contingencies consistent with my obligation to provide that advice, both to the Secretary and the President. We've done so. Decisions will be made by our civilian leadership, and my job will be to execute them.
The second concern I have, Admiral Cooper, is how we've prosecuted this war to date. We have data and information publicly available in publications like the New York Times that 22 schools have been hit, hospitals, dozens of hospitals have been hit. We have regulations. We have the law of war. We have human rights obligations. We have our own targeting requirements to avoid civilian harm and death. Have you been implementing all the laws that are required under current law to minimize civilian death?
Senator, we have executed every operation consistent with the law of armed conflict. The subject of civilian casualties is a particular passion of mine. We pay attention to it. We follow all the procedures and have gone above and beyond to, in my case, personally warn the Iranian people of several instances during conflict where they were being potentially used as human targets.
If they've been warned, how did we then bomb 22 schools?
There's no indication that we have that has been corroborated.
How many schools have we bombed?
There is one active civilian casualty investigation from the 13,629 munitions.
So how do you explain the publicly available information that 22 schools have been hit and multiple hospitals?
There's no way that we can corroborate that. No indication of that whatsoever, Senator.
There's no way you can corroborate or no indication of it? Which one?
No indication.
Well, the indication is what's publicly available. There is indication. Have you investigated those claims?
We have not.
Why have you not? If this is a passion of yours, if you believe that the civilian casualties are not consistent with the law of war and not consistent with human rights obligations that our military regularly follows with great pride and great diligence, why have you not investigated those allegations when they're publicly being made on the cover of the New York Times?